Hey guys, Ed here. Welcome back to another video. I'll be honest, I absolutely despise electric cars, as you would imagine from the title of my channel, but I thought I'd give them a chance nevertheless. So here we have the 2024 Mercedes EQA. This model is actually 250 plus, so it's the extended range model. Spec-wise, I believe it's actually bottom of the shelf. It's nothing special, but it's still got the nice alloys, still got LED lights, collision assist, all the spec you could possibly want on a car. Looks-wise, it looks pretty crap. In all fairness, it's pretty meh. It's like a normal Mercedes that was just smoothed over, put some fancy lights on the front. I think it's lazy design personally, but I would imagine this is probably most people's taste. Just not mine in this case. Performance-wise, you've got electric motors on the front wheels. It's front-wheel drive. It comes with the cat, obviously, as an addition. 0 to 60, 8.8 seconds, so it's not particularly quick, but it's not slow either. It's like a day-to-day commuter car. 190 brake horsepower. But the car weighs about 2 tons, hence why it's not all that quick off the mark. Let's see what it's like on the interior. Now moving on to the interior, guys. As you'd expect, in usual Mercedes fashion, it's a really nice place to be. There's lots of leather everywhere. You can tell they've really actually put some thought into this interior. Things I'll say I don't like. This pattern on the door, this pattern on the dash, it's a bit tacky in all fairness. I don't like that. Apart from that though, guys, you get the typical machine metal aircon units that you get in any Mercedes. Lovely screens spanning across the dashboard. Seats are incredibly comfy, and you have this electric lumbar support as well in the side, which is a nice touch. But yeah, it's a really nice cabin. Spec-wise, there is pretty much everything you could want in this car, and I think that is pretty much a basic level at this point. You've got parking sensors, searches for a parking space for you, and will park the car itself. Collision assist, you've got your adaptive cruise control. Pretty much every box is ticked, in all fairness. So on a day-to-day use, this would be a really good car. I know there's certain levels of, well, having an electric car can be a difficult thing sometimes, charging it, depending on where you are. This is actually my stepbrother's car. He doesn't have any issues with it. 350 miles worth of range, gets him wherever he needs to be, and is comfy while he gets there. So let's cut to the chase. This, as much as it is a review, it's more me as a complete petrol head, seeing if electric cars are even worth your time. If you're into petrol cars, do you even want to give electric cars the time of day? Well, first impressions. You kind of expect to get into an electric car and feel like you're in a completely different spaceship almost, something completely different to what you've been used to. But actually, first impressions, it feels very normal, actually. It feels like any quiet petrol car. Of course, I've not used any of the power yet. There is an annoying beeping, and that's because I'm definitely not speeding. But you can turn that off, by the way, guys. That's another thing with these newer cars, is loads of these safety features you have to put in, but you have to go through manually every time and turn them off. Quite annoying. Obviously, you have some drive select modes in this car. So you've got comfort, you've got eco, you've got everything you'd expect, and then a sportier mode as well. What I've found is that the sport mode essentially changes the throttle position. So if you were to press it down 50%, that might be the equivalent to 20% on the car's computer. Whereas with sport, it just gives you the full power at a much earlier point in the throttle. Another really strange point is regenerative braking. Something I've not come across before, and I know it's quite a common thing in cars, in electric cars, but it's really strange when you're actually driving. You let off the brake, let off the throttle, and it starts, well, braking for you. Quite a strange feeling, but I can imagine as you drive this on a day-to-day basis, you kind of get used to essentially not braking for corners and just letting the car slow down itself. But yeah, it's a weird machine, if I'm quite honest with you. So guys, we're in sport mode. Just pull it off from a light. Let's see how it feels. Really, really weird, actually. Torque, as you'd expect, is instant, but there's just something strange about it. I think no noise plus no gear changes just feels like I honestly don't have a way to describe it. To be honest with you, it's a really bizarre. Yeah, I can't actually describe that at all, guys. It's completely different to the driving experience you get in an ICE engine car. Yeah, strange, but look at the torque. I think you can probably tell that from the camera. there's a lot of torque straight off the bat, and it feels, that's quite fun in all fairness, I'll give it that. I think going around town, you definitely have a bit of fun. So I'm actually really enjoying that. You have a bit of fun going around some, you know, nippy little streets, just using the torque of this car. It does feel like a boat, in all fairness. It's, you know, 2 tons and it does feel very floaty, but it's kind of a trade-off of being comfy as well. This car isn't meant for going around a track quick, it's meant for cruising, it's meant for long journeys and day-to-day driving. So, you know, I think really, considering how comfy it is, you can kind of forgive it for the weight. Infotainment-wise, not had much of a chance to use it. However, it looks pretty self-explanatory. As I mentioned, this is actually a family member's car. He likes using it, and I think the general consensus on the Mercedes infotainment system is that it's a pretty decent one to use. I must say, I do like the fact there's still some buttons in here. There are haptic feedback buttons on the steering wheel, which, yeah, I don't like, to be quite honest with you. But there's a lot of physical buttons as well. So you get that sort of, not old school, but it's of an era. If you're of my generation and older, you appreciate the more analog things. So all these more touch sensitive things are just kind of, you know, VW put them in the Golf, taking them out again because no one liked them. So I think you get a very similar thing in this. I must say the torque is there, and I didn't fully. I heard the torque was instant, but when you actually drive it and you realise how instant it is, it's a completely different thing. It does just like, I know it's 190 brake horsepower, it doesn't feel like that at all because of the weight, but it's sort of just, you know, like in a car as you rev it out and you get to the top end and there's no puff there, it kind of feels like that. I think you get above literally a second of that torque hitting and it feels like you're just going at the same speed. Like there's no, it's not ramping up, it's just there, and it gets boring after that. So I think really if you had to buy an electric car, let's say it's a work thing, let's say it's a work deal, you get an electric car through your business, fine. But if you were gonna actually go out and buy one, I wouldn't go for something like this, because if you like petrol cars and you want an electric car to scratch the itch, you need to go higher end. You need to go like with a Hyundai N electric car, or a Taycan, or an e-tron, or something, e-tron GT. You need something like that because that's actually gonna have that colossal kick that you need to give you the adrenaline, whereas this is just like a little bit of fun, but it's not the same. It's just not the same. I must say, I hate electric cars. However, I could see myself dailying one maybe in the future. Not that I'd have any fun doing it. I mean, I'd probably have to have a Taycan or something like that, as I've just said, but I don't despise it. I'll put that out there. I don't despise it. I wouldn't buy one because they're expensive as well. This car's about 50 grand, and that's one of the more expensive ones in its class, but still expensive nevertheless. I mean, you can get a second-hand Audi RS5 for 40 grand, 2 BMW M4s for the older shape. I think it's a lot of money to be spending on a car, and they depreciate like you wouldn't believe. I think they're going for, you know, 5-7 grand under asking already. Not under asking, but, you know, from new this year, already way cheaper than they should be. So yeah, it's, I don't know if it's a wise decision to buy one of these cars, but if you had to, I'd say this covers comfort. Doesn't cover looks for me, but it might do for you. It looks sleek and classy-ish, I suppose. Interior quality is really nice, and I think that's really important in a car as well. In fact, it's one of my biggest gripes with my Polo GTI. Very plastic on the inside. I would much prefer something like this. And I think in terms of drivability as well, it's very simple to operate, as you'd imagine, guys. You've got your gear selector on the right hand side of the steering wheel. It's pretty self-explanatory with all the buttons. You press and go, and that's pretty much it, because obviously electric is automatic and you don't really have to worry about anything else. Yeah, pretty decent. Some general gripes that I'm aware of with these cars. I know people say the boot space isn't very big. Personally, I think it's big enough. I don't think you really need much more space than that. I think when people have these opinions, they're comparative. They are based across the other cars in the same class. And if it looks small on paper, then they just put it down a few points. But to be honest, it's enough boot space that you could possibly need. Storage-wise, plenty of room in the center console here. I can literally fit my whole forearm in there. You're never going to be short for space. You've got 4 USB-Cs scattered about, some decent cup holders as well. Really, storage-wise, guys, you're not short for space. Glove box, a little bit on the smaller side, but not that that really matters. Your door cards are big enough to make up for it. And yeah, it's pretty practical in all fairness. There's plenty of leg room in the back for people. Not the biggest car in the world. You could definitely fit, you know, fully grown adults back there, and kids, not a problem at all. But it's not like first class in an aeroplane leg room. It's more economy. I think my favorite part about the interior, if I had to pick one thing, because I think I should have Ed's favorite pick of a car. Ambient lighting all the way. This car has got really, really good ambient lighting in it, and even though it's like a, you know, it's not exactly an S-Class, is it? But Mercedes like to throw in these things to give you that sort of, well, ambiance, ambient lighting, give you that sort of feel of class. And it runs across the dashboard, in the actual air vents itself, which is really cool, and in the door cards as well. And obviously you have a choice of colours from the main screen that you can use. My stepbrother's gone for purple, which I think is nice. It goes with a sort of futuristic theme, but if you have no taste, you could set it as pink if you really fancied. Tell you what, just driving it about in a car park now, guys, the steering is incredibly light. And I mean, you can literally use a finger for it and not really try. It's like, it's quite impressive actually. It's probably the lightest steering I've felt in a car. It's pretty easy just to tootle about in, and actually, I think the issue I have with reviewing cars is when the first road I go on is a country road, it's a national speed limit, you're almost comparing the speed to your surroundings. And what I mean by that is if things are going past more quickly, I think things feel quicker. So when you're bobbing around town like this and it's a much more compact environment, the car automatically feels quicker compared to as it would on an open road. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have a little bit of a boot it out of this junction just here, and I'm going to see how it feels compared to how it does on my road. Right, here we go. Right, funnily enough, traction control kicked in, which is not really something that I thought this car would have an option to turn off. So I think it does somewhere, but I believe it's actually in the main screen. Oh well. But that just brings up another point. This car comes with Michelin tyres. I can't remember the exact tyre, but I'll put it in after. This car's brand new, 2024. It's got, I mean, I can't even see the mileage, but I know it's under 200 miles, put it that way. These tyres are terrible, terrible tyres. I got taken out in this car by my stepbrother. He was going round corners and it was losing grip in the dry. And this car's not got, you know, 1,000 brake horsepower, it's got 190. And I don't think these tyres are very good at all. I think really, if you're going to send out a heavy car with a fair bit of torque, you need to put some tyres to match on. Obviously, I'm only bringing that up because I'm in the rain now and it spun up very, very quickly. Like my Polo on currently spare wheels with not very good tyres on spins up less, and it's got far more power and it's much lighter. So yeah, Mercedes, bad tyre choice, may I just add. Back onto a country road now, guys, and I thought it might be worth mentioning the top speed if you are really bothered about the top speed. Obviously in the UK you can't legally go over 70 miles an hour, but many of us still do. So bit of bad news on the EQA front, it only does 99 miles per hour. Not great really, is it? But you kind of expect that from electric cars. If you want to go any more than that, you're going to have some pretty clever tech in there, some good hardware as well, just to make sure that the motors can go that quick. I think you have to have separate. I don't even know what I'm on about, to be honest, guys, but I know you have to change a few things. Obviously, with just a motor on the front axle, that can only spin so fast. So 99 miles per hour is your limit. I will say though, for this kind of car, it is plenty. It is enough of a top speed, and it's going to take you about a year to get to 100 miles an hour anyway, so who cares? So I've now got it in eco mode, aka granny mode, because I want to see what this car will be like for grannies. Let's just say it's definitely much more drivable for the average person in eco. You get about half as much throttle response, which I think's actually pretty nice, to be honest with you. I think if you're just cruising along, that's pretty much all you need. It's really quiet in here, actually. There's very little in the way of road noise. You can tell that the car is very well built, actually, because not a single rattle in here, not a single noise that is untoward. I know it's a brand new car, but to be honest with you, past few years with car manufacturing, you will be surprised at the quality control issues. My VW is shit. So I was kind of expecting to hear something at least, but nothing at all. Not a creak, not a rattle, nothing. Road noise, not bad at all, not too intrusive. And actually, you can have a conversation with someone in here, in the back seat, very easily, with the music on, I'd say. This car actually has a decent sound system in it. I did try it out earlier. Obviously, I'm not going to try it out now because it wouldn't pick up on camera anyway, but it's bassy enough and it goes up to a good volume without getting distorted. It's a decent sound system. I'd probably say the only thing this interior really could do with, and it's not an essential thing at all, but wireless charging, because you kind of expect that in a car that's 50 grand, to be quite honest with you, especially if it's like one of the most expensive in its class. You would expect it to come with that. You know, you get really base Model Y beefers that are coming with that now. So that's a bit of a skimpy option there, Mercedes. You should have included that, really. But yeah, if you are a granny and you want a Mercedes EQA, guys, I reckon you should buy one if you've got the spare money. It's pretty comfy. It'll get you from where you want to be, and you probably have to charge it up once a week, in all fairness. So yeah, guess my seal of approval on that one. Another point just on the recuperation of the battery right now, guys. You know, I said it brakes for you. You've actually got these like flappy pedal type things on the steering wheel, which aren't used for changing gear because there aren't any. So what they have done is make it so that you can change the recuperation levels with that. So at the moment, we're on strong recuperation. If I let go of the brake, it's not that strong, actually. You can't really tell that it's doing it. If I have it on normal recuperation, let's just try that now. It's almost like it's not there. And then maximum recuperation is a lot more aggressive, actually. Yeah, you can, it feels like you're just like on a roller coaster, to be honest with you. Kind of weird. But yeah, no, that's that definitely brakes a fair bit for you. As an example, I'll show you, I'll get to 50 mile an hour. So now, and I'll let go. And now we're on 48, 46, 44, 42, 40, 38. So it is braking a fair bit, in all fairness. But yeah, you could just tool along using that and not use your brakes, which is pretty good long term as well. You're not using your perishables as much. I think it's probably a good cost option. But yeah, overall verdict, guys, let me just try and sum it up. Nice car. It's a nice car. I'm not going to take that away from it. Would I own one? No, but I like petrol cars. Do I hate electric cars after this? Yeah, I do. I don't particularly hate this one. I think it's okay. Nothing really does anything for me, but if you like electric cars, I would imagine this is probably one of the nicer ones at this sort of level. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sold on them. There's a lot more. I could sit here for hours and talk about electric cars, but I'm not going to do that because you won't watch it. But yeah, I think overall, I don't hate it as much as I thought I would. Driving wise, I'm not too fond, but sitting in the passenger seat, I'd be more than comfy. I'd be more than happy sitting here. It's a pretty decent car. So yeah, if you guys are looking for one of these, you won't be disappointed with the build quality or the drive. It's a comfy drive. It is just a nice cabin, and I'm sure you could live with it for, you know, as long as your lease is, or however long you want it for. But yeah, that does just about sum up today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching pretty much me slating an electric car. If you did like the video, please leave a like and a comment down below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to see more content. I've got a review on a TT Mark III coming up very soon, which I'm a big fan of. So I'll be a lot more enthusiastic in that video, I reckon, guys. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. My name's Ed. This is Passion for Petrol. I'll catch you next time.